Good morning, folks. Welcome to Guesswork Garage. Today, we are in a box truck heading to Middletown, Ohio to pick up a 75 Mustang II. I'm sure we won't regret this decision at all.
Okay.
Time to go get the Pinto of Mustangs. But we'll see you guys when we get there. All right, well, there she sits. Audio is not very good right now because the microphone died, but let's get this thing home. It's going to be more of a project than I thought she was going to be, but it might be worth it. Murph! 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 Have at me. So, this is what we picked up yesterday. This is a 1975 Mustang. And I'm not really sure what trim level it is. They had a bunch of them in that particular year. Somebody told me it might be a Ghia, but I think the Ghias had like the Brougham style top on them. I could be wrong. I probably am. My mom actually had a Mustang that was similar to this at one point in time. I think it was her first car, if I remember right. That was also an automatic. I can't remember if it was a V8, but it was kind of a rust orange color, which being in Ohio could have just meant it was covered in rust. It's hard to tell. So let's walk you around this fine piece of machinery that is essentially a Pinto with a pony on the front, and show you what's wrong with it. I really don't know how we're going to fix half of the problems here. I took it upon somebody else's judgment to decide if I was going to buy this car, and they said yes.
You could play around and have the information that you got.
Bet I don't do that again. Oh, God. All right, so here's what we're working with. If you'll swing around this way and then punch in. There you go. This thing was on fucking fire. See, when I saw the pictures online, I thought this was just really crappy paint because the pictures weren't very good. It looked like they took them with a toaster. No offense to the person that took them. The guy that had this car before me seems like a really nice... All right, well... So here's what we know is damaged. And other small bits and pieces that we know. There's a lot that we don't. So we know from what we were told that the fire originated in the battery compartment. What we don't know is how bad it actually was. I see some singed hoses over there. That carburetor is probably garbage. The hose, the fuel line going into the carb is blistered. That's got to be replaced. But I mean, it could be worse. I'm not really sure how, but it could be worse. So here's what we know, right? We know it was on fire. We know that fire causes significant damage to metal. Now it's a matter of how do we fix this? And I got to be honest, I don't really know, because prior to me getting there, I didn't know it had been on fire. And honestly, I was just going to grab it, drag it home, and be done with it. But the guy's like, oh, by the way, it caught on fire. At some point in the 80s, it caught on fire. Would have been nice to know before I drove 2.5 hours. So now I'm eating the cost of the U-Haul if I don't buy it. And to be honest, I could probably yank the motor out of this, clean up the engine bay, and sell the body for what I have in it. If I really wanted to. Do I want to? Not really. I kind of want to get this thing running again. With the running gear it's got on it, absolutely not. Because of how lethargic these things were. I don't remember if I covered this or not, but in the 70s, there was this gas crisis that went on, and they just choked the hell out of all these V8 cars. That's where, like, partially that's where the Grand National and things like that ended up coming from, along with the Mustang SVO and similar cars, was because there was such tight restrictions on emissions, but there were ways around it if you knew where to look and how to look. And part of it was lying to the EPA, which I can't tell you enough. Lying to the government, not a fucking crime. It's just not. Lying on your taxes, not a crime. Not in my book, anyway. Alright, so we're back on the Mustang II, because it feels wrong to just call it a Mustang. And we're going to try to get this motor loosened up a little bit. I'm kind of seeing things they'll eventually be problems, but I'm not going to let them be problems for right now. Things like the fact that there's nothing here. It looks like the water pump pulley's missing. Does it look that way to you?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's a water pump.
That pulley is very loose.
The pulley's gone. There's no pulley. There's nothing here.
I mean, yeah, there's no water pump.
You mean the belt?
I meant the belt. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very loose.
Yeah. Yeah. And every time I open this hood, I find something new that makes me go, that's odd. So what we're going to try to do today is get the spark plugs out. We're going to fill the spark plug ports with Marvel Mystery Oil to try to get some coating on the cylinders. Thank you. Don't know what's in it. It's a mystery, but supposedly it works. If their oil is anything like their movies, it'll be good right up until it isn't. That's kind of where we're at right now. We've still got a bunch of burnt, absolutely annihilated, good lord, wires that we got to go through. Not wires, a lot more screwed up than I realized. Oh boy. So we'll get onto that and start pulling these spark plugs. All right. So this is 1, 3, 5, and 7. These two are absolutely covered in soot. It's not oil. I thought it was when I pulled them out, but it's not. It's soot. So it was running super rich on 2 cylinders. Or 2 of these plugs were replaced at random. I'm not gonna lie. How everything else looks in this car, I'd reckon it's a possibility. So we're gonna put some Marvel Mystery Oil down the cylinders on this side, and we will update you when we pull the ones out of the other side. Kind of just the way that it's looking. We'll pull it out, we'll fill it with mystery oil. I'll get a negative cable, and then tomorrow we'll try to put power to it and see if the engine will turn over. If the engine will turn over, there's still hope, but if the engine is locked up, then we're going to start stripping parts off of it in the engine bay pull the engine and trans out and look for something to put in it. I have some ideas. None of them are good. But, you know, if it doesn't work, I have an idea. So, we'll see. On to the next ones. So here's the other bank of cylinders. And they're all pretty clean. This one's got some discoloration. Looks like one cylinder was running a little lean. The rest were fine.
So what does that mean?
You know, could mean a couple things. We might have stuck valves. Because we don't really know when the last time that this thing actually ran was. Like, well, I know from what I was told, it caught on fire sometime in the 80s. And then it was wheeled into a barn and they never touched it again. So we may be looking at a motor that sat for 40 years with, you know what we haven't done is we haven't pulled the oil yet.
I mean, I pulled that.
That's trans fluid.
Oh, that's trans fluid. Oh.
Trans fluid is full of fairly new looking fluid, but
Should I pee-pee blast it? Can I pee-pee blast that?
That thing is stuck.
So we're gonna spray that with pee-pee blast and let it sit too.
Yeah. All right, so went and had my ears lowered while I waited on this to sit. I'm gonna probably let the mystery oil sit for a little while longer. You know, because it's a mystery. I don't know how long it's gonna take it to work. Nobody does. It's like the Loch Ness Monster.
Why does Monster only want 350?
I thought the Leoplorodons wanted 350.
No. The magical Leoplorodon takes us to Candy Mountain.
Oh, the magical Leoplorodons, Charlie. They're taking us to Candy Mountain.
Candy Mountain, Charlie!
But so, as you saw before, I think this was stuck.
Mm-hmm.
So we soaked her with some PB Blaster, hooked on some vice grips, and out she comes. You're safer down there. The oil is suspiciously clear till you get it off on your fingers.
What's it smell like? I'm not gonna like this.
It smells like varnish, which means there's old gasoline in the oil.
You're fucking shitting me.
Yeah, it smells like I could stain a deck with this. Like,
I already don't like this.
we'll just paint that on there because, you know, it's already freaking varnish. We might as well stain some wood while we're at it. Yeah, that could be a couple of things that have caused that. It could just be it's set with fuel in it, and maybe okay, maybe just maybe it's not catastrophic. Maybe it's, you know, it just sat, it had fuel in the cylinders, like somebody was going to run it, and then it just
Caught fire.
The inside of my mouth tastes like the paint and varnish aisle in Lowe's smells. It's terrific. Whew. So, I'm guessing that the rings are bad. Could be any other number of things too, but that's probably the easiest guess. By no stretch the easiest to fix, but it's the easiest guess. We'll let this sit here. That 2-barrel carb that's on it, and yeah, I don't believe I'm mistaken there. That's a 2-barrel, like a Carter or something. I don't even see a name on it. That's coming off. I'm not keeping that. We're gonna go to a whatever I can find in the junkyard carb, or something to that effect, because that's not. It's not as seized as it was before. The linkage wouldn't move at all, but now the linkage moves pretty freely, which is actually really good. That was frozen solid a little while ago, but it's moving now. PB blaster and a hammer, banging it that way, and then banging it back, and then banging it that way, and then banging it back, kind of like your mom last night. So we're gonna also replace the coil, plug wires, plugs, all that stuff, because the plugs are the ones that aren't junk are very old, and like not as old as I've seen in some. They are Motorcraft. Some of them are. No, they're Autolite. My bad. I've only really got 2 cylinders that are concerning me right now, and those might be something that clears up, or that might be like a, yeah, this thing's screwed, and we're gonna have to work on something else for it. I already know I got to buy a water pump, so even when we can get it to crank over and fire, we can't run it for very long without a radiator and a water pump. The only reason I can think of somebody taking that pulley off is that the pump's bad, and it's right there. We might as well replace it. We're already replacing all the hoses. And then I see a lot of cracked lines into the carb and all that. So that's all got to be replaced too. But overall, I mean, this could really be a lot worse for a car that caught on fire. It could be a lot worse. There's some stuff that's going to have to be kind of pulled out, and then we might go through and pull some stuff out, and where it's really rusty, give her a little, rebuild with some rust preventer. Some of the rust preventer isn't going to really prevent anything. It's,
disintegrate it.
It's like using a paralysis spell on Christopher Reeve. I don't think you're really going to do much, but good try. Yeah, so we will get back to this probably tomorrow. I'm going to try to see if I can find a Craigslist carb or something like that can go in this and work from there. Probably ought to make sure that this has the correct intake for a 4-barrel before I spend the money on a 4-barrel would probably be wise. But judging by the footprint on it, it's the same type of footprint that you would see on the inline 6s, and I think that they were set up to where you could run a 4-barrel.
I think the guy would have been able to prevent it if you just checked where his wires were.
Yeah, it does look like that fire was caused by somebody connecting the wires backwards and then shutting the hood in a hurry. Because the fire is all centered around the battery compartment. Like, not completely, but enough where it's...
Battery went boom.
It looks like the battery exploded. There's some fire damage. It's just a really odd fire damage, right? Because it's all from that back corner where it obviously got very hot up to here where it was just hot enough to flake off the lead-based paint. Yummy. And we'll just grab ourselves one of these and
You did not just put that in your mouth.
it tastes like blue. So
Red's better.
purple is the best.
Fair enough.
Blue's a little too tart for me. But not really seeing a whole lot else. The brakes work, which is great.
I found that.
It does go in and out of gear. We will need a new lock cylinder and column for it because the column got peeled and somebody hammered a key into the ignition. So the key can't come out. So the car is technically stuck. I'm not sure if it's stuck in the on position, but it will not go to the full off position, which might mean that every time that this car is used, we have to pull a cable off. Or if the key's just stuck in it, we cross-reference 2 wires on the distributor and watch them get mad because it won't start. Works pretty well. I think it's going to do it for today. So we will see you guys tomorrow. All right, so we're going to get this negative terminal pulled out of here. The engine's been sitting for right about 24 hours with Marvel Mystery Oil in it. I need you to not go anywhere. You just sit right there. Thank you. Let's get in here, and this thing is just
Roached.
it's straight carbon.
Do you want me to get a smaller socket? Because it is cracked in there.
Well, it's a it's a flathead is what it is, but I gotta see if this will actually fit and if it doesn't require some modification with a drill or something of that effect. This is a very short cable. This is realistically too short, but I might be able to make it work anyway. Got news for you, sister. That ain't fitting. Shit. Well, all right. Well,
So could we just repurpose that one? The one that's
I
on there?
mean, that one's pretty demolished. Is there another good spot for a ground? Like, truth be told, could we repurpose this? Yes. But if we're going to repurpose it, we might as well wrap the entire wire in electrical tape and just reuse the whole thing. But I don't want to do that. So instead, no. Give me a couple of minutes. I'm going to try to sort out a ground. Okay, well, there's 2 things that are going to happen. We're going to have to locate the starter, which I don't remember where it is on Ford 302s. I think it's down and back to the side somewhere. I'll have to look. But the other thing is that the terminal cables may not be tight enough. It's enough to get this to click, but not enough for it to produce enough power to turn over. Who the fuck is this? And why the fuck are you stopping in front of my house? Fuck off, you're in the way. Thank you. Fucking idiot.
So we should tighten the terminals? See if that fixes this?
We can try to tighten the terminals. Nothing feels hot yet, so.
Set to loosen.
We're at least gonna tighten up the shit. Tighten up the negative terminal. Try not to hit the hood so I don't shock myself. Nifty. That's not supposed to happen. Oh, that's about as tight as that's going to get. That one's on there pretty good. Shit. Sit inside and turn the key one more time. All right. Yep. Turn the key and hold it a couple seconds. All right, you're good. All right, well, we know that the junction is working. The steel me junction on these Fords is actually clicking power over and sending it directly to the starter, but the starter is not turning over. I suppose, realistically, I could try to see if the motor just will roll over by force now. It's probably not a terrible idea. Let's give that a try. All right, let's see.
Want the breaker bar?
Maybe. I also got to move this. Is that too low? Absolutely. Will it probably drop the damn thing on my head? Yep. Need a breaker bar.
Okay.
All right. Well, it moved. Let me grab my ratchet. We'll see if we can't get it to make a full cycle. Now, let's see if we can get this thing to roll over a couple of times. Oh, it's hard stuck there. See if we can get it to go backwards.
Going backwards.
Oh, there's a really big ring ridge or something. And it was sitting right on it. Well, if we're lucky, and that starter isn't bad. Ooh. Uh-oh.
Why's that?
A few too many pounds of kinetic force on Chinesium. Boy, that shit twisted. Wow. Well,
Maybe hammer?
got to be careful about what cheap tools you buy, I guess. I'm pretty sure that that came out of a Great Neck tool set, though, so I'm not too upset about it. I am upset about my Husky extension if I lose that, though. That'd definitely be a balance. All right, so we're back trying to get this motor broke loose. Having some difficulties with my ratchet today. I don't know what the hell the deal is. I do not like this. Sam, I am. Let's see. Okay. Whoops. So, try to get this bar on there. Oh,
It's moving.
it's not moving. The fucking thing's twisting. If I let this go, I'm gonna throw the jackrod through the house. Oh. You see all the dust that kicked up off of that when it broke loose?
So what's probably going on is it just rusted really bad.
Well, if it is, then that's a whole other problem. If there's rust that indicates the presence of water, that there's shit. If there's water in the cylinders, that could mean that it's got a blown head gasket.
Or that when they, put out the fire, they use water.
Now, maybe, but if that's the case, he used a lot of water. Boy, she is stuck.
Well, could we attach a wrench to that? Because every time you were moving one of those bolts, that was moving, and it looks like that is what's stuck. I'm pointing at this, folks.
You're thinking that the alternator is what is holding up the belt.
Potentially?
I don't think that's the case, but I really doubt it.
Like I said, I was watching it struggle at the alternator.
I don't know. I suppose if it's tight enough, it could create enough resistance to potentially slow it down. I would imagine it would slide over that rather than stop the whole engine. I think there's a good chance that this motor is just junk. Which means we're going to have to find another motor. Yeah, typically these aren't that hard to roll over. Like, typically with basic hand tools, you can roll an engine over without a whole lot of strain. But the fact that this is not getting fully through a cycle and then is hanging up that bad is indicative of problems. Now, so in theory, we could use the impact to try to knock it loose. The other thing that we could do is put power to it, jack it up, and use the starter to try to force the motor over that ring ridge. The thing is that I'm putting enough weight on that jack handle that there's just no way that that shouldn't rotate. Like, it should turn, and it's hitting a point and it's just saying, nope, this is it, can't go no further. Which means that, yeah, maybe water got down the app and you know, maybe it got inside of the engine. I'm kind of wondering if the motor didn't lock up. Not really sure. I guess really the only way to find out is to pull all the top end stuff off, take the engine apart, and see what we're working with. And the total scale of that is pretty lousy. Not gonna lie. Let's try to get we'll try some I didn't do that. Okay. We'll try to get some ATF and acetone, drop it down in there, and see if that'll break loose some of the corrosion. We'll do it on all 8 cylinders, just to be sure. But I have a feeling that it's cylinder 2, 3, or 5, because they're the only ones that are marking as something wrong. They're the only ones that are showing any type of major problems. They all had a little bit of corrosion around them, but with how long this car sat, I suppose that isn't too far off the mark. In reality, for it to be like, oh, you know, it sat for 40 years or something, and now the engine's froze. Would not be at all surprising if that is the case. But typically, if a motor is froze due to sitting, you can break it loose. I'm just trying to not break anything else on the way to breaking it loose. So now that I've had my mild inconvenience causes me to question all of my life decisions, moment for the day. Because what's a day without one of those? Are you on there or not? Make up my mind.
Like I said, it looks like it is catching on the fan. Well, the fan is catching on something.
The fan. The
I don't know what to call it.
Okay. No, the vents for the alternator. Okay, I got you. Get me a cutting implement and we'll snap the belt.
Okay.
Alright, so your theory was that it was getting caught because the alternator, the fan part of the alternator was binding up on something.
Yeah.
That was your theory?
It was possible.
Okay, well.
Because it was struggling when the belt was attached.
That's free and clear, it's not touching it. I don't think that's the problem. I think the problem may in fact be at the crank with the cylinder being stuck. Well, I snapped my extension. Luckily, this wasn't the one I thought it was. I was going to be really upset with myself, but it's a Stanley Tools one, made in China. You can actually see kind of how it broke. Am I in frame? I can't tell.
Yeah, you are.
Okay, so it was under torque load, and it spun away and snapped. So that's 2 Chinesium extensions that I've broken this week.
I think this is the only car we've actually broken extensions on.
I haven't broken a lot of tools on cars. Like, I've broken some that should have never broken. Nearly caused a lawsuit with Craftsman Tools once back in the 90s. We had to warranty out 3 star bits, I think it was. We had to warranty out a few odds and ends. But the one I remember is the star bit, because my dad got a Craftsman set from Sears. We went out to Indian Mountain Mall. We ate at the Chinese place that was in the food court, went to Sears, bought stuff we needed, came back, put it in, and we started doing the brakes in his 94 Cavalier. And I broke it. I was like 6. Nah, I was older than that. The Sears court came in, and what year did that come in? Would have been about 9, maybe. It wasn't very big. I was really scrawny. But I grabbed a hold of it, and man, I couldn't get that bolt to go loose. And he's like, you really got to pull on it. You really got to pull on it. So I grabbed it, and I pulled myself up to the ratchet. And it snapped, and I fell and hit the floor. And I immediately thought, man, I'm going to get beat for this one. Nah. Dad was like, that's not supposed to break. Did you break that? Yeah. What'd you use to break it? Me arm in not strong enough. Me use body.
Well, that's what I was trying to do.
Monkey brain. And
that's what I was trying to do with the.
Yeah, no, I broke it. So he took it back. They wanted to fight, argue, complain, whine, etc., because a 9-year-old kid snapped this thing, and they're like, there's no way you had that thing on an impact. You had it on something else. You twisted it. You voided the warranty, blah, blah, blah. And my dad had a conversation with them about it, and the conversation didn't go in their favor, and they issued us another one, which we had to take back later, if I remember right. And then it was like, you're going to have to go through corporate to warranty shit. I never bought another thing from Craftsman again. Because I have old school Craftsman stuff that I don't use a lot. That was my grandpa's. And it'll hold up. But like, that would have been 97 or so when that happened. So it's a long time ago. It was when they were still made in America, unlike now where they're junk. So
if you want to get at least a decent brand, go with Husky or Cobalt.
Husky's okay. My dad got me most of the Husky stuff that I have for Christmas one year. A lot of the rest of it was bits and pieces that I got out of other people's garages when they quit wrenching, and I've got some junk tools too.
I know.
I've got some no brand stuff that's questionable at best. You ready to break another extension?
Yeah, why not?
I just think this engine's just stuck. Just like real stuck. You want to hold the hood?
Mm-hmm.
Nope, we ain't doing that. Started twisting already.
Let's show.
It's kind of hard to see it. You can see where there's some indentations. And if you look at it straight on, it's twisted. That was by hand strength. I am not by any stretch a strong man.
Apparently, the cool thing.
At least in my opinion, I'm not very strong. But like,
I've watched you Hulk a mattress upstairs.
well, a mattress doesn't really weigh that much, all things considered.
I've watched you Hulk a car.
Ta-da! Magic trick. Gone forever.
I watched you Hulk a car because you thought there was a cat trapped under it.
Yeah. Did what needed to be done. Alright, let's go get some ATF and acetone. We'll soak the motor down. We're going to give it one more attempt before I start taking stuff off of the motor, hook an impact to it, see if that'll spin it, probably tomorrow. And then if that doesn't spin it, we're taking the head off, and we're going to see most likely that 1 or 3 of the cylinders are full of water. And then we'll have to go find another 302. Not a huge deal, but it does kind of put us behind schedule on this. But it does make it so that we can get some videos out of it. So I guess, you know, silver lining and all that, I suppose.
Okay, off to go get acetone and...
Acetone and automatic transmission fluid, not the ATF. Fuck the ATF.
Disband the ATF.
Alright, well, we're back on the Mustang. The, what did I call it the other day? The phony pony?
The Pinto with the pony badge?
Yeah, the Pinto with pony badges. So, what you guys didn't see, because I did it off camera, was I soaked the engine in acetone and ATF. And it's been sitting for a couple days now, because I had to work. I had to work, and then we had an after party for the assignment that I had. So we all went to Penn's in Easton. They're fantastic. Drank a little bit, hung out until about, I don't think I got home till like 3 a.m. And then the next day I had to cover somebody because they had a headache. I know why, but if it was any other reason, I would have said, nah, you work. What kind of sissy gets a hangover? Come on. Rookies. Anyway.
I wouldn't know.
I hear an airplane. Let's see if we can get this thing to roll over any further. The fuck?
What's wrong?
Oh, shit. Grab that. Alright, so it wouldn't turn because I don't know if it shows up very well on camera. When I applied pressure, whatever. When I applied pressure, it bent it. It just bent the shit out of it.
I think I'm going to have our lovely editor start doing an extension tally.
Extension tally? Yeah, we're up to 3 that I've broke. This one isn't full on broke yet, but it's getting there. It's got cracks starting to form in it and stuff. I mean, I'll go on it till it snaps, but That won't be very long. At least it won't snap off inside of another extension. But yeah, if you look, that's a significant angle of departure. It's just about level across, just sitting in there. Oh boy. Let's see. I'm gonna try this again. This was probably gonna snap. Yep. Oh, no, it just skipped off. Oh, it skipped off because of the water pump. The water pump that I have to find a pulley for.
Mm-hmm.
And it's Sunday, so I can't run over to the junkyard and see if they got one of these chilling in there. They used to. Okay, this is going nowhere. This isn't getting me nowhere.
Should we try more of the acetone stuff? Because we only did a small amount.
I'm gonna have to beat this out of here. Yeah. That's not doing me any good. It's stretching and bending. It's junk.
So 4?
No, it's still 3. It's just
3 1/4.
that one's. It's 3.
That one's almost broken.
That one is broken. It's cracking. It's completely done. And there's 2 up there that are broken.
3. There's 3 up there.
There's one up there that has a piece of the other one broke in it. It's not broken. It's a quality tool. It's just got a less than quality tool broken off in it. It's like most of the women in this town. And I should be able to fix that. Oh, for fuck's sake. Alright, I'm going to need an extension, a Husky extension or a Cobalt extension.
Okay.
One of the two, because this won't reach. Give me a second. I'm trying to figure out where all of my shit is. Well, it moved. All right, well, now that we're on the the Mustang's second dose of the Jim Jones Kool-Aid, see if we can get this thing to break loose or break another extension. It's probably going to be the second one. I'm going to hurt myself. Well, that was a racket.
Mm-hmm.
What if I try to go back the other way? Or is it just not going to move either way? It's probably that one. That didn't last long at all. It's broke off. You see how it's got the fractures underneath of it? There's nothing holding that on. That's 5. That's 5 extensions that I've broken. All right, I'm getting frustrated. Go grab the impact. All right. I'm not sure if this is actually going to work. I'm not afraid to admit that. Gotta try something before I start tearing stuff off. It's gonna budge. Well, shit.
I'll go get the jack.
Well, I don't think that there's a small chance that that'll work. There's a small chance.
Do we give it more time to sit in the mixture?
And underneath of it, so the starter can be reached. That's not a bad idea. We'll tuck the jack on the subframe, or we can go from the front. One of the two. But I mean, I don't know. I need something to lay on because my back is not going to enjoy this. We're going to have to work out a different ground situation. So this is the previous ground bolt. Yeah. That don't fit. So I'm going to have to find a way to make this fit because this is the only universal one that I could get in a reasonable amount of time. And what it looks like is most likely going to happen is I'm going to take this end and break the crimps on it and pull it off and use the old ground wire in the way that it was set up for the new ground wire. Do I think it's the smartest idea in the world? Absolutely not. But it's what's going to work because I can't really go out and buy another one of these. I also don't know the exact size that it wants. I don't know if you could search by fitting size or not because the actual bolt itself is the correct size, but the threads aren't. I might be able to just file this down around the lip a little bit to where it'll fit most of the way and then ratchet through it to sandwich it in place. That might work. Is this kind of janky? Absolutely. But will it work for the purposes we got now as a temporary fix? Absolutely. Does that mean that I will completely forget about it and just leave it that way? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It never fails. So as you'll remember, the cable before was kind of, well, I mean, now it looks like your girl when she comes back from the club. So what I did was I took an impact in this and, well, I made it work. Right up until it doesn't. Pardon the fuck out of me. Well, that fit a second ago.
Well, we did use the hammer.
Yeah, that was just to straighten it out, though. I don't have enough hands for this shit.
Hold up.
All right, well, I went back to the club and got bored out again. So we'll see if that actually will work. I've probably ruined this cable, but it wasn't very expensive. I'm not too terribly worried about it. Buy myself some fucking suspenders or something, man. It's getting ridiculous. Losing weight, not where I freaking need to. Ow. That hurt. Alright. Just gonna make this good enough, I suppose. Alright, you're gonna be a pain in my ass today. Everything is okay. Alright, let's see if this new ground will work out for us. Fingers. Did you hear that? Oh, that came from, okay. Jeez. Alright. Let's see what happens. Did that just turn over? What's sparking? That's not... What's sparking?
The blue thing.
The blue thing? This blue thing?
That blue thing.
Is shooting sparks.
Yeah.
So you're telling me we have a coil that we're... Oh, God, that made a mess.
I told you.
Oh, no. It's everywhere.
You want to see the video?
Oh, my God. Okay. It turns out the engine might not have been stuck. I'm just a fucking idiot. Oh, boy, what a mess.
You gotta wait for it to evaporate.
Yeah. We're done for the day, I think. Wow. That turned over. Oh, God, it got on my coat. I didn't know that was the splash zone, Shamu. What the fuck? Wow, okay. Well, it looked like it turned over really strong. Was that what it looked like to you?
Until I had to get out of the splash zone.
And it was just shooting it out of the cylinders.
Uh-huh.
Oh, maybe me cranking on it and fucking with it did unlock it. But yeah, we're gonna have to
We're gonna have to wait for it to evaporate.
we're gonna have to wait for this to evaporate. Oh man, what a mess. I was not expecting that. Yeah.
Don't do this, kids.
Wow. I'm astounded. That thing kicked over fast too.
Mm-hmm. Now that we got a ground that actually fucking works.
Yeah. I don't know what I was thinking before, but you were saying that that was throwing lightning. The coil was throwing lightning.
Do you want me to get in and so you can see?
I'm kind of afraid it's going to catch on fire.
Well.
But sure, why not? Well, I'd hate to leave it off here and make everybody kind of wait another week to see if it's going to run, but we got to dry this out, and I got to get this video to the editor. And I got to get the editor's payment too. But after being froze up and everything else, it turned over pretty fast. And he did say the last time it turned over really slow. I wonder if that dummy was using the same... I bet he was using the same cable from the fire. I mean, you got to use what resources you got, I guess. But we're going to let this dry, and that's going to do it for today. I guess the next step is to see if it'll run. So, until next time, do the best you can to have the day you deserve. Take care. All right, so since that last video that you guys saw, or the last clip that was there, we went and got new plug wires. As you might remember from before, they were just ate up, and it was an absolute mess of bits and pieces of them that have been turned to carbon. Kind of like the link to the AC. Looks like it's made by Kingsford. I don't know how much heat soaking went on when this thing was on fire. I don't think it was too much, but there's definitely some heat damage done to a couple of other components that'll have to be replaced. Most likely all the AC stuff's going to get ripped out because it's got some fire damage, and I don't want to go through the trouble of looking for the parts for it, so somebody can use an aftermarket AC, because God knows there's plenty of them. That'll probably work better than the factory one did anyway. So what we're going to do, we're going to see if this thing will start up off of brake parts cleaner. At least crank over, give us some signs of life. It might as well. I mean, we spent $60 on wires that should have realistically cost us $13, but I didn't want to wait for a week for them to show up and then get stolen off of my porch by some porch pirate. But on the list of parts that are needs a radiator. I'll probably have to run new lines for the transmission cooler because they were clipped. And they weren't pinched off very well either. They're going to make a mess if this thing starts. And the radiator was really the biggest thing, I think, wasn't it? And then from there, it's probably going to replace the carburetor. Probably going to put a 4-barrel on it, which just makes more sense. There's other odds and ends, but let's see if we can get this thing to crank over for the first time in a long while. The guy said it caught on fire in the 80s, so about 40 years.
40 or so.
Let's see if she cranks. Give me a second. All right, let's try it again. Twice now the battery's been pretty much dead and wasn't wanting to crank it over, but maybe it'll work this time. All right, give it a try. Open the throttle. Yep. Try it. When it catches, you can let off the key. All right, one more try and then we're gonna have to stop. All right, try it. It's trying. All right. It kind of idled that time. Hold on. Oh, that was probably the wrong thing to do. That was not as much gasoline as I thought it was. Oh no. Womp womp. All right, well, try her. I can't believe that worked. Okay. Well, it's trying to idle. It just doesn't have anything to idle on. So, try it again. First time it's ran in 40 years. All right. All right, well, we managed to get it to start and idle on brake parts cleaner. But that's really not good enough. I really think we need to get it to idle on gasoline, but for it to do that, we're going to need to establish a fuel system because the current gas is, I mean, you could stain a deck with it. It's so varnished. It's holding up about like a turd on toothpicks. It's not going so well. The good news is it did start, and it did kind of run. It is a little bit smoky, which is, I guess, to be expected. The motor sat idle for sometime around 40 years, which makes me realize just how old I am. And yeah, we might actually have this thing running before too long. That blows my mind. I was a little worried we were going to have to pull that motor out and replace it. Just goes to show you that acetone and ETF mix, man, it's something. I wasn't really sure how well that would work, and then it made that giant mess it made, and well, it works now. But I think that's going to do it for this episode. Appreciate everybody that's tuned in, subscribed, all that happy stuff. I'm averaging about 200 views per video, which is stellar. It'd be real nice if some of you guys that are repeat offenders would actually decide to, come back and subscribe, because there's going to be more of this kind of stuff. Might be a little slow over the winter, but, well, I don't really have a good place to work in the winter. And I live in Ohio. So it could be like this, today and 3 feet of snow tomorrow. This is how it is. I think that's going to do it for this episode. Managed to get this thing to idle after sitting for 40 years, and that's something. Still got a long way to go. Got to do a new fuel system, new hard lines, probably a new carburetor realistically, because that 2 barrel's really choked down. New radiator. But it's getting there, and that's what's important. We're getting inching closer to getting another one back on the road, and this thing is already sold. So I actually have a little bit of a deadline. No pressure. I have no idea what I was thinking. To all 80 of you that are subscribed, might be 81 by the time this comes out, really appreciate all of you very much. You're helping keep me motivated, keep moving along this whatever in the heck it is in my book, chapter thing. I know what I meant. If you're one of the repeat offenders who likes to come in, watch the videos, and then leave, really appreciate it if you subscribe. I know that this kind of muddies up your feed of cat videos and the occasional, midget dancing or whatever, but it really mean a lot to me. I'd really appreciate it. I think that's going to do it for us here. I think I covered everything. I hope I did. I got to go to work. Have the day you deserve.